Hi everyone, it's been a while. I am so sorry that I have not been taking care of my responsibilities. I'm going to do a much better job. I have missed you all so much, my fabulos and fabulas. This video is made specifically for INDLS first graders, but I love it when other friends tune in to enjoy the stories also. Okay, we're going to get right to it. I'm so excited. I missed you. All right, so the story we're going to read today is from OLS lessons 8.1 and 8.2. And the stories are The Poor Man's Reward. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record one story, The Poor Man's Reward, and then I'll make another video to record the story, The Water of Life. And while I should have been prepared, it's Miss M. Those of you that know me know sometimes I'm a little less prepared than I need to be. And so I'm looking right now to double check what our assignment is because I want to make sure that I give you the best information that I can. Okay, so 8.1 and 8.2 is the poor man's reward. And don't worry about the next one because I'll record that next. Shh, rewind. Okay, so if this is the first time you're tuning in, I always give everybody a chance to go get the book because we always do a picture walk first. And then I try my best to just read the story while my kiddos follow along and look at the pictures. Now, if you're able to read some of this, wonderful. Not all of us can, though, and that's all right. We're working on comprehension and understanding the story and remembering parts of it. So you may want to listen to this video more than once. Now, I would love for you to listen to it and be able to follow along with your finger, but sometimes I know I talk a little fast and then I'll stop and and then talk a little bit about words or something else, and then I go back to it. So if you do decide to listen to the story, just that little disclaimer, sometimes I might make you lose your place. So I'll always tell you when we're starting on a new page. And this is a great story learning coaches. If you read it with your kiddos or listen to the video, you'll see that I point out certain words and certain secret story sounds like ow and a and e that are wonderful words for our kiddos to practice too. Okay, let's get to it because I really like this story. So I'm going to give you're going to want to pause the video. Those of you that have done this before, you're going to pause the video and go get this book if you have it. It is called K-12 Classics for Young Readers, Volume A. Are you ready to go do that? And go. Make sure you pause. That video is not paused. Pause the video or you're going to watch me dance very silly. Pause the video. Go. Yay, you're back. Okay, I wasn't dancing. I wasn't doing anything crazy. Okay, now that we have the book, we are going to turn to page 100. 100. I know, that's big. And the story is called The Poor Man's Reward. Remember, you can pause this video at any time. That's the joy of having a video. And we are going to just do a picture walk first. All right, now it's a long story. It's called The Poor Man's Reward, and it is a folk tale from West Africa. Africa is a whole nother continent. And hold on, I'll show you. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we are here in Indiana, most of us, and we are in North America. Now, if we want to go to Africa, we have to now ignore this line. That's going to Europe. We're going to go all the way over here over this big thing called the Atlantic Ocean. And guess what? This is Africa. All right, and there's a lot of countries in there. And we've actually heard some folk tales from Africa before. And what we know about a folk tale is that it usually has a lesson. It's going to teach us something. And it also has a story to go along with it, but it's called a moral. And we'll talk about that at the end of the story. But let's start our picture walk. So I'm looking at the beginning on page 100 and 101, 101, and I see, gosh, well, I would say it's a desert, but it has some trees there, and so it reminds me of something called a savanna, where it's probably very hot and dry, but there are some things that grow. And I look at this wonderfully dark colored man. He looks like he's sweating. He has a bag in his hand, and then he's got like looks maybe a glass bottle, a small one around his shoulder, and then a bigger bottle that looks kind of red. I wonder what are in those. And look at his face. Do you think he's happy? Do you think he's sad? I don't know. But if this story is called The Poor Man's Reward, do you think that's the poor man? Do you think there might be other characters in this story? Now, who do you think is the main character, though? Well, I'm going to guess it's him, only because the story is called The Poor Man's Reward. But we never know until we read it. Okay, turn the page. Ooh, I like this one. I see the man sitting. This is 102, and it looks like he's got something open, and there's a beautiful yellow bird up there. I wonder I wonder if they're talking. If they are talking, then we know this story is fiction or fantasy. Can't happen in real life. Now we know some birds that can learn words. Typically, birds aren't going to talk and have a conversation with you. Okay, so looking at 103, oh, the picture in 102 where he was holding something, now the bird looks to be probably eating it. I wonder what's in that. All right, turn the page. 104. Ooh, the man is now sitting under a beautiful tree. It almost looks purple, and he's eating. I still see the bottles, and now there's another animal coming up. That's a hyena. And if you look really closely, you can see the hyena's licking its lips and has drool. Wonder what's going on in that picture. I wonder if you can predict to your learning coach what you think might be going on. We've seen the bird and the hyena. Okay, turn the page. Okay, page 106. He opened one of the jars, one of the bottles, and well, I'm not sure what it is. It looks like it's all over his hand and it's shiny, but I see a bee there also. So if we see a bee, what might be in that bottle? And there's the man. It looks like he's trying to relax and looks a little surprised. So I wonder what's going on. And then on page 107, he's laughing and it looks like the bee is whizzing around him. Well, that's good. I bet he's not getting stung because he's smiling. So if we look so far, we've seen the man and there was a bird and it looked like he was feeding the bird. And then we saw the man with a hyena and there was food, but I wonder what happened between him and the hyena. Maybe you see a pattern. And now on this page, I see the man with honey and a bee, and then all of a sudden it kind of looks like they're friendly. I wonder if you can predict. Go ahead and turn the page. Okay, ooh, page 108. I see a crocodile. And crocodile's got some big teeth, but I also see the man is pouring something into his mouth. What? I wonder what that is. But I also see something in the crocodile's nose. Ouch. Looking on the next page, 109, I see the man kind of smiling and he looks like he's climbing up a hill. And there's another man there. Wow, he's dressed very nice in a hat and they're both smiling. What is going on? And what do you think may have happened with the crocodile? Thinking about the pattern, what we're predicting happened with the other animals. Turn the page. Okay, on 110, I see another beautiful tree. I see the man on a hill, and I see a big kingdom in front of him. Oh, I can't wait to know what's going on next. Now, looking at 111, ouch! The man's got an expression on his face, and it looks like there's a bee flying around his head. Oh, I hope he doesn't get stung. Let's turn the page and see what else could happen. Now, on page 112, I see, I see a muy bonita, very beautiful woman. Oh, I love her eyes and her hair and her dress. And she's dancing all around, but I don't know if she looks very happy. And there's a bee again. I'm kind of confused. All right, let's look on page 113, and it's the whole page. And there's the same woman. There's the man we know, and they both kind of look surprised. And then, wow, look at that portly gentleman. He's a little bit bigger, portly. He looks very important. Now, why do you think he might look important? Turn to your learning coach. You can even pause the video and maybe come up with a reason or two of why you think this man is important. Okay, so I look at this and I look at his clothes and he looks like he's wearing jewelry and he's wearing skins. He's wearing rings on his fingers. I wonder, he must be important. Maybe he's rich. And he's pointing to a big pile of something in the back. I wonder if it's gold. Let's find out. Turn the page. Page 114 and 15. Wait a minute. I don't know if that's gold now because I'm looking at all these birds flying around. Look in the yellow bird's mouth. Do you see it? It looks like a seed. So, if that pile wasn't gold, what do you think those piles might be? Turn the page. Ooh, page 116. Oh, I see some gentlemen bringing in a huge something or other to eat. Oh, that looks very tasty. You can see the steam going off of it. Now look at page 117. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I don't know if there's a meal there anymore. What do you think? I see the man. I see a table and I see a lot of hyenas and bones. What do you think may have happened to that beautiful pile of meat on the previous page? I don't know if it's there anymore. Go ahead and turn the page. Okay, so looking at 118 and 119, 118 and 119, I see the very important man. Look, he has somebody giving him shade, and he's pointing to our main character. I don't know if he looks really happy. I can't tell, but everything looking at the pictures is going to help me understand more. And he's pointing. Now, I'm looking at the man on the bank. There's something in the water. What do you think that is in the water? And remember, we had a bird, we had a hyena, we had a bird, we had a hyena, we had a crocodile. Was there another one? Well, I could always go back and look. Okay, so in the beginning, I only say this because there have been animals. We had a bird, we had a hyena. Oh, we had a bee. That's right. And then a crocodile. And we've already seen the bee was going after the woman. We saw something with the birds. I don't know. Remember, I thought it was gold and it was a pile of seeds. And we saw the hyenas. There was a big meal, and then all of a sudden it wasn't there. So if you look at the bottom of 119, do you see a crocodile? Now, it's the same crocodile as before. Look at the picture. How do we know it's the same crocodile? That's right. There's a hook in his nose. And it looks like there are a lot of crocodiles in the water. I wonder what's going to happen. I really like the man. I hope nothing bad. Turn the page. Now, 120 is just words. 121, the man is smiling. The crocodile is smiling, even though he has a hook coming out of his nose. And do you see all the crocodiles behind? I wonder why and what is up with the feather in the man's hand? Where did that come from? I don't know, but I'm really excited to read this story. Turn the page. Okay, we're at the end of the story, page 122 and 123. Look at all those smiles. I think we're going to have a happy ending. I see the bird. Can you find the bird? Okay, can you find the crocodile? Can you find the hyena? Do you remember the other animal? It's a little one that buzzes around. I found it. Can you find all four animals? A crocodile, a bee, a bird, and a hyena? I bet you can. Okay, if you need to pause the video because that was a long time to do our picture work, go ahead. And then come on back, use el baño, whatever you need to, get a drink of water. Come on back, and I'm going to read the story. Okay, I'm going. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right. It's a long one. The poor man's reward. And remember, if you're listening to it the first time, I want you to look at the pictures as I read. You can even, after you look at the picture, you can close your eyes. Don't fall asleep, please. And you can listen to me read it and paint that picture in your mind. Here we go. Long ago, on the wide plains of Africa, there lived a young man who was poor and all alone, for his parents had died, and he owned nothing but the clothes on his back. One day, the poor man decided he would set off, it didn't matter where, to see if he'd have better luck in another part of the country. He packed a small amount. Let me stop there. Amount. That has that ow sound, the OU. That's been one of our secret stories, the ow. Remember OU or OW? Okay, so I'm going to go back to the beginning of that sentence. Here we go. He packed a small amount of meat. I won't even get going on the secret story there. And millet in a bag. And he filled a small gourd with honey and a large gourd with water. Pause the video, turn to your learning coach. What do you think a gourd is? Ask them too, they might tell you. Okay, back on. Very early, he set off toward the rising sun. He walked for miles across the dusty plain, and by the middle of the day he was hot and tired. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the sweat rolled down his face, and he wondered if he ought to give up. Turn the page, 102. Luckily, there was a tree nearby, so he sat under it and rested in the shade. Feeling hungry, he opened his bag and took out some of the millet wrapped in a cloth. Just then he heard a voice above him. "I'm starving. Could I have some of your millet?" He looked up, and there was a weaver bird perched on a branch. It looked thin and worn out. Amazed that the bird could talk, the man replied, "Of course, take as much as you want." And he held out the millet so that the bird could peck at the grain. Now, what do you think another word for millet might be? It starts with a S. What do you think? Okay, so now I'm going to start on page 103, and I'm going to start at the first full paragraph. That's where when we look at the writing, the first word's kind of pushed in a little. Okay, so I hope you're with me. The weaver bird ate its fill, and then it chirped and spread its wings. As it flew away, it cried, "Thank you, my friend. I won't forget your kindness." The man ate the rest of the millet and went on his way. He walked until dark, and then he climbed into a tree to sleep. The next day he walked until midday, and then once more he sat down in the shade of a tree to shelter himself from the burning sun. This time he thought he would eat the meat, but just as he was pulling it out of his bag, he heard something scratching the ground behind him. He looked around, and there was a scrawny-looking hyena eyeing the meat. I want you to think as we turn the page what scrawny might mean. Remember, the bird was very thin. What do you think scrawny might mean? Okay, page 104 is the picture, 105 is the writing. "Excuse me," it said, "but do you think you could spare the bones when you finish the meat? You see, I haven't eaten for 2 days." The man could hardly believe his eyes. There was a hyena standing right beside him and talking politely. Remember, I said this is fantasy, it's not real. "Certainly," said the man, "I'll just have a bite or two, and you can have the rest." He took a bite and then gave the bone, still heavy with meat, in a few gulps, and then let me try that again. I lost my place. All right. So hold on. In a second, you're going to catch up with me on the paragraph that points in and it says OH. But let me reread that because I'm sure a lot of us lost our place there, including me. "I'll just take a bite or two and you can have the rest," said the man. He took a bite and then gave the bone, still heavy with meat, to the hyena. The hyena chewed the meat in a few gulps and then it settled down to gnaw the bone. The man stood up to go. "Oh, I beg your pardon," said the hyena. "I was enjoying my meal so much that I nearly forgot to thank you. But I won't forget your kindness. Manners go a long way, friends." Bottom paragraph. The man walked along, his feet sore and his face burning from the heat of the sun. There's a lot of E words in there, E-A. Two vowels go up, and the first one does the talking. Okay, second sentence. In the evening, he found a tree to sleep in, and the next morning he started off early with only the gourds of honey and water left. Do you remember our picture walk? I bet you have a feeling what's going on next. Think of the pattern. Page 106. At noon, his legs were aching, and he sat down to rest by some bushes. He took the small gourd filled with honey, dipped his fingers in, and scooped some out. He was just about to help himself to more when he heard something buzzing around his head. A tiny voice said, "I'd love some of that. There are no flowers for miles around." It was a bee. This time, the man wasn't surprised to hear an animal talking. He felt sorry for the hungry creature and immediately held out the gourd so that it could help itself. Wow, this is a really nice guy. Page 107. The bee ate its fill, and in a moment it was buzzing in joyful circles around the man's head. As it flew away, it said, "Thank you, sir. I won't forget your kindness." Later that afternoon, the man felt dry and dusty, so he stopped to have a drink. Just as he lifted the gourd to his lips, he heard a deep voice coming from the grass behind him. As we turn the page, I wonder if you can figure out what animal it is, and it is not Mia, my kitty cat, who decided to interrupt the video. Page 108. Water, just a sip. So thirsty, so thirsty. The man turned around and jumped back when he saw a large, mud-caked crocodile, its tongue hanging out between its long, sharp teeth. "Help!" croaked the crocodile. "Lost my way. Need drink. Now." "Open wide," said the man. "I'll give you a drink." He poured most of the water into the huge mouth, and the crocodile gulped noisily. "Thanks," it rasped. "I won't forget your kindness." And it slowly crawled away. Page 109. As the man walked along, he saw a man standing on the side of a hill, so he climbed up to talk to him. "Good day to you," said the stranger. "Have you come to try and win the hand of the princess?" The poor man was puzzled. "The princess?" he asked. "What princess?" "Why," said the stranger, "she's the daughter of the king, of course. He is a very rich king, and his palace is just on the other side of this hill. And today, the man who can pick the princess out of a crowd of people will have her for his bride." Turn the page. "That doesn't sound very difficult," replied the man. "Oh, but it's not as easy as it sounds," said the stranger, "for the princess has lived in a faraway city all her life. No one has ever even seen her, so no one knows what she looks like." The man thanked the stranger and climbed to the top of the hill. From there he saw a large village and a magnificent palace. Page 111. The man hurried down the hill. The village was packed with people. How could he ever move around and see all the young girls? What would a princess look like anyway? And he thought, looking down at his dusty, shabby clothes, even if he could pick her out, she wouldn't want him. The young man felt hot and bothered, and there was an insect buzzing around his head that he couldn't get rid of. Suddenly, he heard a familiar voice. "Don't worry," it piped. "It's only me, the bee you helped a few days ago. Now it's my turn to help you. Watch me. I'll fly to a girl and buzz around her. She'll throw her arms in the air to brush me away. Go and take her to the king. She is the princess." Turn the page. Page 112. Before the man had time to thank the bee, it flew into the crowd. In a moment he saw a girl frantically waving her arms about. The man saw that she was very beautiful. He hesitated, and then he went up to her and said, "You are the king's daughter." The girl nodded, and the word went through the crowd. Then the king came up, but when he saw how poor the man was, he said, "Yes, you have chosen my daughter, but there are many tasks you must complete before you can marry her. There is a heap of mixed seeds in my courtyard. By morning, you must separate the millet and the maize into separate piles. Maize is another word for corn." Last paragraph. The man saw that the hill of seeds filled nearly half the courtyard. He sighed and shook his head. How could he possibly do it in one night? Do you remember the pictures? Go ahead and turn the pictures. Okay, I'm going to give you a second. Who do you think is going to help him? I can hear you. I can hear you. Okay, I'm going to read. Page 114. Just then, a small bird alighted on his shoulder. "Hello, friend," it said. "Can I be of any help?" The man was delighted to see the weaver bird again. He told the bird about the task the king had given him. The bird chirped, "I'll be back in a minute. Don't go away." The man wondered what the little bird was up to. Then he saw what looked like a gray cloud above the palace roof moving toward him. It was hundreds of weaver birds, all heading for the courtyard. They dived into the pile and picked up the seeds one by one in their beaks. "We're good at this sort of thing," said the weaver bird, and by morning they had separated the seeds into two big piles. As they flew off over the palace roof, the man shouted, "Thank you." When the king saw the seeds separated into two neat piles, he muttered, "Indeed, yes, yes. Well, you've completed the first task, but there still will be another one this evening." Page 116. When the man went to the palace in the evening, the king told him to sit at a table. Then 4 servants came out of the kitchen carrying a platter with an entire roasted bull. When the servants put the platter down, the table groaned under its weight. The king sneered and said, "You must eat all the meat of this cooked bull by morning, right down to the bones." The man chewed a few mouthfuls, and because he was hungry, he thought it would be easy enough to eat all the meat, but soon he felt stuffed and he couldn't face another bite, though there was still a mountain of meat before him. You know what's going to happen. All of a sudden, he saw the bright eyes of an animal creeping toward him. He looked around for a place to hide, but then he heard a familiar voice. "Let me hear it. Who is there to help the man eat the bull?" You're awesome. Okay, page 117. "Don't be frightened, kind sir. It's only me, the hyena you fed out on the plains. What are you doing here?" As the man explained his impossible task, a big smile spread across the hyena's face. "Allow me to fetch my family," said the hyena. "We will have no trouble dealing with this little problem of yours. Look at the picture." The hyena returned in a few minutes with its hungry family, and they wasted no time in digging in and tearing off every bit of meat. Being kind. It's almost making me think of the moral, the lesson of the story. They turned the page 118. The next morning, the king was astonished to see a pile of bones where the bull had been, and the platter licked clean. "You've completed the second task," he growled, "but this afternoon you shall face the final task." Now hold on. Is this king being fair? I don't know. Why do you think the king keeps giving him tasks? It has to do with something the way the man was dressed. But should we judge people just by how they look? That's one to think about. Okay, I'm on the second paragraph, remember? It pushes in a little bit. The king was sure that the man could not succeed with this last task. In the marketplace, the king announced to all the people, "To win my daughter's hand, this man must cross the river in broad daylight and bring back the magical ostrich feather from the far side of the river." Page 119. At once the crowd fell silent. When the young man looked across the river, he saw why. In the water, he saw the bulging eyes and lashing tails of hundreds of hungry crocodiles. I bet you already know what's going to happen. Second paragraph. The man could not move. If he went forward, he would certainly be killed. If he went backward, he would lose the king's daughter, who stood farther up the bank, gazing at him with admiring eyes. What do you think's going to happen? Oh, you know what's going to happen. Turn the page. 120. Look at the picture. A deep voice interrupted his thoughts. Down here, at your feet. Got a problem? There was the crocodile he had helped, looking much happier than before. The man explained his final task. No problem, said the crocodile. Kind man, you'll see. Then, with a swish of its tail, it disappeared underwater. The man stared as the crocodile formed a straight line across the river, each crocodile holding the tail of the one in front. Step across, said the man's friend. Bridge of crocodiles. As the man stepped onto the crocodile's back, the crowd started to clap and shout. He walked faster and faster over the living bridge until he reached the other side. He picked up the ostrich feather and hurried back across the bridge of crocodiles. When he stepped off, he thanked his crocodile friend. Any time, said the crocodile, and it sank back under the water. Yes. Turn to page 122. The people crowded around the young man and clapped and cheered as he made his way to the king and his daughter. The king said, You may be dressed in rags, but you have a noble heart. Welcome to my family. The princess smiled, and the poor man knew that his lonely days were gone forever. Now I'd like you to think about what was the moral, the lesson of the story. Because guess what? The king learned it at the end. Listen again. You may be dressed in rags, but you have a noble heart. What was the word that all the animals used to describe this man that might kind of remind you of the word noble? Kind. Te amo, my loves. I hope you enjoyed this story, and I'm so happy to be with you. Hasta luego. Bye, friends.